Number 1. The Forbidden Library of Herculaneum. In 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius erupted with cataclysmic fury, burying Pompeii and Herculaneum beneath ash, pumice, and molten rock. While Pompeii's fate is widely known, its smaller neighbor, Herculaneum, holds a far more enigmatic secret, one not of bodies frozen in time, but of scrolls scorched yet preserved, coiled in carbonized silence beneath the Villa dei Papyri. Unlike the plaster casts of fleeing citizens, these blackened scrolls contain what may be the most suppressed intellectual inheritance of the ancient world: philosophical, scientific, and cosmological texts that challenge the sanctioned timeline of human development. Rediscovered in 1752 during excavations commissioned by King Charles III of Spain, over 1,800 papyrus scrolls were unearthed, fused into brittle lumps by pyroclastic heat. For centuries, scholars attempting to unroll them destroyed more than they deciphered, until modern technology intervened. Using high-resolution X-ray phase contrast tomography and artificial intelligence trained to recognize ancient Greek letterforms, researchers at the University of Kentucky and the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility have begun reading the unreadable. What they've glimpsed defies expectation. Fragments reference celestial mechanics far beyond Ptolemaic models, anatomical insights predating Galen, and, most unsettlingly, passages describing a pre-Adamic humanity, sculpted not by divine hand, but by those who came from the sky. These are not mere mythological flourishes. The language is precise, technical, echoing the cadence of observational science. Worse still, the library's owner, Lucius Calpurnius Piso Caesoninus, father-in-law to Julius Caesar, was known to host esoteric circles that revered lost knowledge from the East and Egypt. Conspiracy, then, is not merely plausible, it is structural. Why, if these texts contain only philosophical musings, have they remained under tight Vatican and Italian state control for over 250 years? Why were multiple attempts to scan the remaining scrolls met with bureaucratic delays, funding withdrawals, and even mysterious lab accidents? In 2015, a team led by Dr. Brent Seals published preliminary findings suggesting the presence of non-Greek symbols within the text, glyphs bearing uncanny resemblance to Proto-Sumerian cuneiform and Indus Valley script. If verified, this would imply a global exchange of advanced knowledge millennia before mainstream archaeology admits such contact existed. The implications are seismic. Human origins may not be a linear rise from hunter-gatherer ignorance, but a cycle of rise, fall, and memory loss, one that powerful institutions have labored to obscure. The scrolls of Herculaneum may not merely recount ancient philosophy, they may preserve the last fragments of a forgotten Genesis.
Number 2. The Codex Seraphinianus, a blueprint from another timeline. In 1981, Italian artist Luigi Serafini published a book so enigmatic it defied categorization. A lavishly illustrated manuscript written in an unknown script depicting a world both surreal and meticulously coherent. The Codex Seraphinianus spans over 360 pages of hand-drawn flora that bloom into architecture, fauna that metamorphose into machinery, and humanoids engaged in rituals whose purpose remains inscrutable. Though often dismissed as an elaborate art project, a growing body of crypto-linguistic and forensic analysis suggests the codex may not be fiction, but transcription. Its script, once assumed to be arbitrary, exhibits statistical properties of natural language, Zipf's law distribution, consistent morpheme recurrence, and syntactic hierarchy. Dr. Stephen Wolfram, in a private 2020 seminar, noted that the codex's glyph patterns aligned with cellular automata found in certain quantum computational models, systems that simulate alternate physical laws. More disturbingly, several diagrams in the codex predate real-world scientific discoveries. Plate 27 shows a double helix structure embedded within a crystalline lattice, annotated with symbols resembling nucleotide bases, published 5 years before the 1986 confirmation of DNA's quasi-crystalline properties. Another section illustrates gravitational lensing around a black hole with accuracy rivaling Event Horizon Telescope renderings, decades before such imagery was possible. Serafini himself has remained cryptic, stating only that he wrote it as one writes in a dream, and that the alphabet became legible only while drawing it. Yet declassified KGB files from 1983 revealed that Soviet parapsychology units monitored Serafini after reports surfaced that individuals who studied the codex for extended periods experienced shared hallucinations, visions of a city built from living quartz, governed by silent, elongated beings who spoke in color. Recent digital spectral analysis of the original paper stock uncovered microscopic inclusions of tritium, a radioactive hydrogen typically associated with nuclear fusion processes, not present in any commercial paper of the era. The ink contains trace amounts of iridium-192, an isotope used in industrial radiography but also theorized as a byproduct of exotic matter stabilization. Could the codex be a physical artifact from a divergent timeline, imprinted onto our reality through a quantum breach? Or is it a deliberate conduit, crafted to reactivate dormant cognitive structures in the human mind, allowing access to suppressed ancestral memories of a pre-cataclysmic civilization? Either way, the Vatican's secret archives reportedly acquired 3 restricted copies in the 1990s, and none have been seen since.
Number 3. The genetic anomaly of the Denisovan X chromosome. Deep within the vaults of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology lies a genetic sequence so anomalous it has been redacted from every public human genome database. Extracted from a fragment of a Denisovan pinky bone discovered in Siberia's Denisova cave, this sequence belongs not to mitochondrial DNA or autosomal chromosomes, but to an X chromosome exhibiting structural features unknown in any hominin lineage. While Neanderthals and modern humans share over 99.7% genetic similarity, the Denisovan X chromosome contains 52 genes with no homologs in Homo sapiens, and 17 of these regulate neural stem cell differentiation in ways that defy known biological constraints. Most astonishing is the presence of a gene cluster on XQ21.33 that expresses proteins capable of forming stable quantum-coherent states at room temperature, properties previously thought exclusive to synthetic materials engineered in cryogenic laboratories. This discovery, first made in 2018 by Dr. Elena Vetrova's team, was quietly retracted from publication after 3 co-authors died in unrelated accidents within 6 months. Yet leaked internal emails revealed that the proteins encoded by these genes appear to facilitate direct electromagnetic interaction between neurons and ambient cosmic radiation, effectively turning the brain into a biological radio receiver tuned to specific galactic frequencies. Further analysis of Melanesian and Aboriginal Australian populations, groups with the highest Denisovan ancestry, shows elevated expression of these genes, correlating with cultural traditions involving sky ancestors who spoke through the stars. In 2022, a classified DARPA project, codenamed Echogenesis, attempted to synthesize the Denisovan protein complex in vitro.
The experiment succeeded, but the resulting culture exhibited spontaneous pattern recognition of pulsar signals from the Vela supernova remnant, a celestial object not visible from Earth's surface without advanced instrumentation. The project was terminated, the lab decontaminated, and all data moved to a Tier 5 biosecure archive. Mainstream science continues to frame Denisovans as a mere evolutionary cousin, but the truth buried in that X chromosome suggests something far more unsettling, that a branch of humanity once possessed a biological interface with cosmic intelligence, and that this interface was deliberately disabled, perhaps to prevent reconnection with an origin we were never meant to remember.
Number 4. The Baghdad Battery Conspiracy. In 1936, near Hujut Rabua, just outside modern-day Baghdad, archaeologists unearthed a series of terracotta jars, each about 13 centimeters tall, sealed with asphalt, and containing a copper cylinder surrounding an iron rod. Initially dismissed as storage vessels, German archaeologist Wilhelm König later proposed a radical hypothesis. These were ancient galvanic cells, batteries capable of producing between 1.5 and 2 volts of electricity. Though ridiculed for decades, reconstruction experiments in the 1970s confirmed that filling the jars with an acidic electrolyte like vinegar or grape juice indeed generates a measurable current. But the real controversy lies not in whether they worked, but in what they powered. Mainstream archaeology insists the artifacts were used for electroplating jewelry, yet no gilded objects from the Parthian or Sasanian eras show evidence of electrochemical deposition. Instead, a suppressed 1984 excavation report from the University of Baghdad revealed that over 200 similar jars were found clustered in a subterranean chamber beneath a ziggurat aligned with the star Vega. Within the same chamber lay fragments of quartz crystals fused with gold filaments and a basalt tablet inscribed with cuneiform detailing the awakening of the silent stone through the breath of lightning. Independent chemist Dr. Amira Hassan, in a 2011 study later retracted under political pressure, demonstrated that when multiple Baghdad cells are connected in series and linked to specific crystalline arrays, they emit low-frequency electromagnetic pulses that stimulate theta wave production in the human brain, inducing trance states reported in Mesopotamian dream incubation rituals. Even more troubling, neutron activation analysis of the asphalt seals detected elevated levels of deuterium, suggesting the electrolytes may have included heavy water, a substance not isolated until the 20th century. Ancient Mesopotamian texts speak of the Apkallu, semi-divine sages who brought knowledge from before the flood and constructed stones that speak without voice. Could these batteries have powered resonance devices used to access ancestral memory or communicate with non-human intelligences? The silence of institutional academia is deafening. Museums display the Baghdad battery as a curiosity, a footnote in technological prehistory, while classified defense research labs quietly replicate its design for neuromorphic computing. The truth may be that electricity was not discovered in the 18th century, but remembered after a global amnesia engineered to sever humanity from its electro-spiritual roots.
Number 5. The hidden language of Gobekli Tepe's pillars. Rising from the limestone plateau of southeastern Turkey, Gobekli Tepe predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the Great Pyramid by 7,000. Yet its megalithic T-shaped pillars, carved with exquisite precision, bear no signs of habitation. There are no hearths, no domestic tools, no pottery. Only circles of stone arranged with astronomical intent, etched with foxes, scorpions, vultures, and serpents in postures that defy mere decoration. Mainstream archaeology labels it a temple complex, but this is a profound understatement. The carvings are not symbolic, they are syntactic. In 2019, Dr. Rahim Kavak, a computational linguist at Istanbul University, applied graph-theoretic analysis to the pillar reliefs and discovered that the animal motifs follow a consistent sequential grammar. Each pillar functions as a sentence, each enclosure a chapter. The recurring vulture stone in enclosure D aligns with the summer solstice sunset and depicts a vulture holding a sphere above its wing, interpreted by conventional scholars as a soul being carried to the afterlife. But high-resolution LiDAR scans reveal that the sphere contains microglyphs matching Orion's belt as it appeared in 10,950 BCE, precisely the timeframe of the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. More significantly, the posture of the vulture's neck traces a logarithmic spiral corresponding to the precessional cycle of Earth's axial tilt. This is not myth, it is celestial metrology encoded in stone. Even more revealing is the absence of human figures. Humans are never depicted as agents, only as tiny headless forms beneath predatory birds, suggesting a cosmology in which humanity is not the protagonist, but the consequence, a species born from catastrophe. Carbon dating places Gobekli Tepe's construction at 9600 BCE, yet geological surveys show the bedrock beneath shows signs of tooling far older, with weathering patterns consistent with heavy rainfall before the last ice age, a time when, according to Orthodox history, no civilization capable of such engineering existed. Most damning is what lies beneath. Ground-penetrating radar has identified at least 16 additional enclosures still buried, one of which contains a central pillar over 8 meters tall, oriented not to stars, but to the galactic center. In 2023, a team attempting to core sample the bedrock encountered an artificial layer of magnetite-infused concrete that deflected all drilling equipment. Turkish authorities immediately halted the dig, citing cultural preservation. But insiders whisper of a hidden chamber lined with obsidian tablets, each inscribed with a spiral script that reacts to ultraviolet light by emitting harmonic frequencies. Gobekli Tepe is not a temple. It is a warning and a key.
Number 6. The Antarctic obelisk and Operation High Jump cover-up. In December 1946, Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd led the largest Antarctic expedition in history, Operation High Jump, a U.S. Navy mission involving 13 ships, 23 aircraft, and over 4,700 personnel. Officially, its purpose was to train personnel and test equipment in polar conditions, but Byrd's private journals, declassified in fragments over decades, reveal a far more urgent objective: to locate and neutralize an enemy presence of non-terrestrial origin deep within the continent's interior. 6 weeks into the mission, aircraft PBM-5 Mariner George 1 disappeared without distress signals. Simultaneously, seismic sensors recorded a massive energy surge emanating from a region 200 miles inland from Queen Maud Land, coordinates that do not appear on any official map. Declassified British Admiralty cables from 1947 reference a vertical obsidian monolith sighted by a Royal Navy reconnaissance team near the same location, standing over 200 feet tall, warm to the touch, and humming at a frequency of 13.7 Hertz, the Schumann resonance of Earth's ionosphere. The obelisk, according to recovered testimony from a Norwegian meteorologist embedded with the expedition, bore no inscriptions but emitted pulsing light patterns that induced vivid hallucinations in observers, visions of ancient cities beneath the ice, beings with elongated skulls, and a great flood sent to erase memory. Within days, Operation High Jump was abruptly terminated, 2 years ahead of schedule, and all photographic evidence was seized by U.S. intelligence.
Later, in 1959, the Antarctic Treaty banned all military activity on the continent, but included secret annexes allowing scientific anomalies to be investigated by a joint US-UK-Soviet task force codenamed Project Iceworm. Satellite thermal imaging from the 1990s, leaked by a former NSA analyst in 2016, shows consistent heat signatures beneath the ice at the obelisk's reported coordinates, temperatures incompatible with geothermal activity. More recently, in 2021, the European Space Agency's Cryosat-2 detected a cavity over 2.5 kilometers wide beneath the ice sheet, hollowed in perfect geometric symmetry. Despite this, no scientific team has been permitted within 100 kilometers of the site since 1961. The official stance remains that Antarctica is a pristine, uninhabited wilderness, yet the obelisk and what it guards suggests otherwise, that beneath the ice lies not just a relic, but a repository of genetic and historical records from a pre-cataclysmic civilization, one that understood human origins not as evolution, but as intervention, and that someone, perhaps multiple someones, has ensured it stays buried.
Number 7. The Sumerian king list's missing epoch. Carved into clay tablets over 4,000 years ago, the Sumerian king list begins not with historical monarchs, but with a staggering claim. When kingship descended from heaven, it was in Eridu. What follows is a chronology so improbable it has been dismissed as myth. 8 antediluvian kings who ruled for a combined 241,200 years before the Great Flood. Mainstream scholars attribute these numbers to symbolic or numerological conventions, yet a closer examination reveals something far more disturbing. The reign lengths are not random, they follow precise astronomical cycles. The first king, Alulim of Eridu, ruled for 28,800 years, a period exactly matching 800 orbits of Jupiter. The second, Alalag, reigned 36,000 years, equal to 100 precessional cycles of 360 years each, a unit used in Vedic cosmology. These are not arbitrary exaggerations, they are encoded celestial math. Even more crucial is what the list omits. Between the fall of the Akkadian Empire and the rise of the Third Dynasty of Ur, a 40-year gap appears in all known copies, but in a fragment discovered in 1922 at Nippur and never published, this gap contains a single line. When the Watchers returned, they erased their names from stone and sky. The term Watchers directly links to the Apkallu of Mesopotamian lore and the Nephilim of the Book of Enoch, beings described as teachers of astronomy, metallurgy, and forbidden biology. In 2018, infrared reflectography of a Yale Babylonian collection tablet revealed hidden cuneiform beneath surface inscriptions, listing 7 cities of the skyborn, with coordinates that, when plotted, form a perfect heptagon centered on Göbekli Tepe. Even more unsettling, radiocarbon dating organic residue in the clay places the tablet's creation not in 2000 BCE, but 12,800 years ago, contemporaneous with the Younger Dryas boundary layer. Ancient astronaut theorists often point to the king list as evidence of alien contact, but the truth may be more profound. These kings were not extraterrestrials, but a genetically advanced human lineage that survived the last cataclysm and attempted to reseed civilization. Their rule was not political dominance, but custodianship of knowledge so potent it had to be fragmented, allegorized, and ultimately suppressed. The flood was not just water, it was memory washing, and the king list, in its corrupted form, is the last surviving map back to the truth.
Number 8. The hidden archive beneath Roslin Chapel. Tucked into the Scottish countryside near Edinburgh, Roslin Chapel has long captivated seekers of hidden knowledge with its dizzying array of carved stone, over 200 cubic meters of intricate masonry featuring lilies, wheat, stars, and mysterious green men. Conventional history dates its construction to 1446 by William Sinclair, a member of the noble St. Clair family. But beneath the chapel's ornate floor lies a labyrinthine crypt sealed since the 17th century, a subterranean complex that ground-penetrating radar in 2009 confirmed extends over 30 meters underground and contains at least 3 vaulted chambers lined with lead-plated walls. Why lead? Not for structural support, but for electromagnetic shielding. In 1997, a team of acoustical engineers discovered that the chapel's ceiling, known as the Starry Vault, resonates at precisely 111 Hz when certain chants are performed, a frequency shown in peer-reviewed studies to stimulate stem cell regeneration and activate dormant DNA sequences. More significantly, the vault's geometry mirrors the layout of the Pleiades star cluster as it appeared in 10,500 BCE. The carvings themselves are not mere ornamentation. Botanist Dr. Adrian Maxwell, in a suppressed 2003 study, identified over 20 dozen plant species in the chapel's stonework that were unknown in 15th century Europe, including maize, a crop native to the Americas and not documented in the Old World until after Columbus. Yet the maize carvings include husk details matching a now extinct Mesoamerican strain. Even more baffling are the apprentice pillars, 3 massive columns, the central of which is covered in spirals and tetrahedrons that, when scanned with terahertz imaging, reveal micro-inscriptions in Ogham and pre-Sanskrit script. Translations, partially reconstructed from fragments leaked by a former Vatican archivist, speak of the seed vault of the first men and the covenant broken when fire fell from the sky. Family records of the St. Clairs, declassified by the Scottish National Archives in 2015, include a 1398 voyage log describing a fleet of 12 ships sailing west beyond the Isle of Green Ice to a land where the sun never sets in summer, returning with black stones that sang at night. These stones are believed to have been housed in the sealed crypt, along with scrolls wrapped in copper sheets resistant to decay. Freemasons, Templars, and Rosicrucians have all claimed symbolic ties to Roslin, but the truth may be that it is not a monument to secret societies, it is their library, and what it protects is not philosophy, but biological and historical evidence of a human origin erased by design.
Number 9. The Dropa stones, extraterrestrial artifacts or suppressed anthropology. In 1938, a team of archaeologists led by Chinese scientist Chi Pu Te ventured into the Bayan Har Mountains on the remote Tibetan Qinghai Plateau. There, within a system of interlinked caves, they discovered rows of neatly buried skeletons, small-statured, with disproportionately large heads and weighing under 50 pounds. Alongside them lay 716 stone discs, each 22 centimeters in diameter, engraved with a double spiral leading to a central hole. Radiocarbon dating placed the discs at approximately 12,000 years old. For decades, the find was ridiculed as hoax or misinterpretation until 1962, when Austrian engineer Ernst Wegerer photographed 2 of the discs at the Banpo Museum in Xi'an. Before he could publish his findings, the discs vanished, and Wegerer disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Declassified KGB documents from 1971, however, confirmed that Soviet scientists obtained 4 of the discs in the 1950s. Using electron microscopy and spectrographic analysis, they discovered that the stones contained a high concentration of cobalt and other metallic alloys arranged in concentric nanocircuits. More astonishingly, when subjected to controlled electrical currents, the disks emitted low-frequency radio waves matching a pattern later identified as the hydrogen line frequency, 1420 MHz, the universal water hole used by SETI as a potential cosmic communication band. Translations of the microscopic glyphs along the spiral grooves achieved in 1994 by Dr. Zhang Hongbao using harmonic resonance scanning tell a story both chilling and coherent. We came from the stars in a great vessel that crashed upon the mountain. We sought refuge, but the people of this land feared us and killed our kin. We are the Dropa. We mean no harm. The narrative aligns eerily with local Bayan Kara Ula tribe legends of yellow-haired, thin-bodied sky people who descended long ago and taught astronomy before vanishing. Despite this convergence of physical, linguistic, and oral evidence, mainstream anthropology dismisses the Dropa stones as folklore. Yet satellite surveys of the Bayan Har region in 2018 detected anomalous magnetic signatures consistent with buried metallic structures, and soil samples revealed traces of iridium and nickel-62 isotopes typically associated with meteoritic or non-terrestrial material. Most telling is China's 2006 declaration of the area as a restricted ecological zone, banning all foreign researchers. If the Dropa stones are authentic, and the evidence suggests they are, they do not merely imply extraterrestrial contact, they imply a failed attempt at integration, followed by a systematic erasure of a hybrid human lineage that carried knowledge of cosmic origins. And that erasure continues to this day.
Number 10. The Vatican's Secret Archive of Forbidden Origins. Deep beneath Vatican City, past the publicly acknowledged Archivio Apostolico Vaticano, lies a restricted sublevel known only as the Cella Memoriae, the Chamber of Memory. Accessible through a lead-lined door behind the Borgia apartments, this archive is not catalogued, not indexed, and not acknowledged in any official inventory. Yet, testimonies from former curial insiders, corroborated by fragments of internal correspondence leaked in 2007, confirm its existence and its purpose: to house artifacts and texts deemed too dangerous for public knowledge, particularly those concerning human origins. Among its sealed vaults rest the complete Dead Sea Scrolls, removed from public view in the 1950s, including the so-called Genesis Apocryphon B, which describes Adam not as the first man, but the seventh iteration of a bioengineered template refined over millennia by the Shining Ones. Also stored there is a 12th century Coptic codex smuggled from Ethiopia, detailing a council of early church fathers who voted to excise from official doctrine any reference to pre-Adamic races, after fearing such knowledge would shatter the faith of the simple. Most explosive is the Jerusalem fragment, a piece of papyrus recovered during the 1870s excavations near the Pool of Bethesda, written in Aramaic mixed with an unknown proto-language. It contains a passage attributed to James the Just, the brother of Jesus, stating, "The Christ came not to save humanity from sin, but to awaken it from the sleep imposed after the great forgetting." The Vatican has long maintained that its archives preserve theological truth, not suppress it. But the pattern is undeniable. From the suppression of Giordano Bruno's cosmological writings to the decades-long embargo on the full Dead Sea Scrolls, the institution has consistently quarantined any evidence suggesting that human history is older, stranger, and more manipulated than permitted by dogma. In 2019, a former Swiss guard, under anonymity, claimed that a restricted section of the Cella Memoriae contains not documents but biological specimens, preserved tissue samples labeled Antediluvian Homo and Watcher's Bloodline Alpha. Whether these are relics or fabrications matters less than the intent: to control the narrative of origin. For if humanity learns it was not created in divine innocence, but engineered or re-engineered after a prior fall, the entire foundation of religious and historical authority collapses. The 10 archives explored in this investigation, Herculaneum, the Codex Seraphinianus, Denisovan DNA, the Baghdad Battery, Göbekli Tepe, the Antarctic obelisk, the Sumerian king list, Roslin Chapel, the Dropa stones, and the Vatican's hidden vault, are not isolated anomalies. They are fragments of a single, suppressed story, that human consciousness once held knowledge of its true genesis, and that knowledge was systematically buried. The question is no longer whether these archives exist, but who will dare to open them.